The Penguins are eyeing NBC hockey analyst Pierre McGuire as their new potential general manager. Kerry Chow, joined by ESPN.com hockey writer Scott Burnside. Scott, how would McGuire fit in Pittsburgh?
Well, I think the first thing is to make very clear that there are a lot of different people that the Pittsburgh Penguins are talking about as potential replacements for Ray Shero, who, of course, was dismissed as GM after the Penguins were upset in the second round of the playoffs by the New York Rangers, a series they once led 3-1. But certainly Pierre McGuire's name is out there, and part of the reason is that he has a long history and connection with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was an assistant coach in 91 and 92 when they won Stanley Cups. Of course, a player there was a guy named Mario Lemieux, who is part of the ownership group there now, so an obvious connection there. And of course, as you noted, Pierre McGuire, longtime broadcast analyst, one of the faces of the National Hockey League in North America in terms of analysis and presence across the airwaves. So, it's a tough job. Whoever is going to take over for Ray Shero has to figure out a way to get one of the most talented, one of the most successful regular season teams back over the hump in the playoffs. They have lost five straight playoff series to lower seeds since winning a Stanley Cup in 2009. And so clearly ownership believing that is an issue of personnel in making the decision to replace Ray Shero. Not sure I agree with that, but that will be the key then. What are the missing elements, and specifically when dealing with Captain Sidney Crosby, how to get him back into a kind of groove. He's struggled through a couple of disappointing playoff years in a row, and so that would be one of the key priorities for whoever the new GM in Pittsburgh is going to be.
You mentioned there's plenty of candidates. Who are some of these other candidates?
Well, I think you have to look at a guy like Julien BriseBois, who's the assistant GM in Tampa. Our good friend and colleague Pierre LeBrun was tweeting just not long ago that veteran GM Jim Rutherford, who stepped aside in Carolina to make way for Ron Francis this offseason, is someone who may be of interest to the Pittsburgh Penguins. May have been some contact there. I think you have to look at some of the sharp assistant GMs around the NHL. Paul Fenton is one of them. I would suggest that Claude Loisel, who's the assistant GM in Toronto, perhaps even Tom Curvers, another assistant with the Tampa Bay Lightning organization, just off a stint with the U.S. Entry in the World Championship. So I think there are, my sense of the Penguins' search is that they are leaving few stones unturned. But, time's wasting. And of the key things for the new GM will be in deciding what to do with head coach Dan Bilesma. Will he remain, or will that be one of the first jobs for a new GM is to decide that the Penguins need also to have a new head coach. So lots of balls in the air for the Pittsburgh Penguins this offseason.
Guess we'll have to wait and see how it all turns out. ESPN.com hockey writer Scott Burnside. Scott, thanks as always. I'm Kerry Chow with your latest ESPN headline.